Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome to our weekend grind, the weekly head to head. Because, of course, three heads will always be better than one or two. And we are here continuing the two-part series of drafting. We actually started that with DMAC last time. Now we are going to continue it with, of course, our day-to-day fantasy expert, Arik Z in the house. What's up, brother?
Hey, I'm okay. I'm fine. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, this is going to be, let's make it another optimistic, positive, and high energy episode. As always, as
Exactly.
always, as always. We missed you.
Exactly.
By the way, we miss you, Arik. Dimak and I were actually, missing your jokes and your takes. And
Yeah,
apparently, yeah,
we're
apparently
good
Dimak is
together.
out
We're a
right
good
now.
combination. We're mixing well.
For sure, for sure. So, I'm gonna let's start off strong by you sharing to us um what was your fantasy basketball journey? Because me and Eric actually shared the last time, and I'm pretty sure
You and
people.
Dimek. You said me and Eric. You mean you and
Oh,
Dimek.
well, me and Dimac rather are actually shared our own stories and our journey, and then given that you're the lone guy out of us three who was able to really create an app um from day zero, when in the first time you kind of like was introduced to fantasy basketball, up to creating that app, we would love to hear how did that happen.
Well, I started playing not too long ago. Not like decades ago. I started to play in the 15, 16 seasons. Uh, and I was really good at it from the start. I had a lot of luck because I picked Steph Curry on the third pick, and it was the year that he was crazy, crazy good. Like so I had a really good advantage, but because I really love basketball and I'm really good at math. I'm a math teacher, and I have 2 degrees in math and economics as well. I have a degree in economics, and it bodes well with fantasy because no, fantasy is an economic game. It's like you have the products. The products are the categories, and you need to know how to maximize them. There's a lot of analytic thinking in fantasy, and a lot of numbers. You need to control the numbers, and those are things that I understood really well from the beginning. So I was really good in my first year. I entered a Roto League, 13 categories. I really didn't know anything about fantasy, but my friend told me, how the hell someone like you doesn't play fantasy? It's perfect for you. And I really didn't understand how perfect it is because I became addicted from the first time. The first 2 or 3 years, I slept during the season about 2 hours, 3 hours a night. Here in Israel, the games are in the middle of the night. Okay, are played, you know, 2 2 a.m. to 7 a.m., something like that. And I remember times that I woke up to go to the bathroom and couldn't go back to bed. I told myself, just go to see what's the score on the computer and stayed awake 5 hours till morning, then going to work and everything. I, I, I was really, really, really hooked and addicted. Okay. And like a lot of things in my life, I like to investigate. I like to become better. I like to understand what I'm doing. So I started do a lot of thinking about the game. A lot of things during the years as I played, and in my first years I played exclusively Roto. Uh, and I still prefer Roto over Head3Head, although I have respect for Head3Head, right? It's not like I don't respect the Head3Head games, but Roto is based less on luck, and you can count on the numbers more there. You know, in Head3Head in the last week, a player that is really healthy can be, you know, out with the flu, and you can lose the championship for that. And in Head3Head, in Roto, you can't. You know, it's based on all of the year. So I prefer Roto, but again, Head3Head is exciting. I really like Head3Head. I think there's a lot of different thinking there as well. Okay, and I won Josh Lloyd's league last year, so you know, I pretty much know what I'm doing, and I like it. Okay, no, don't like to talk about myself. You know, look at me. But you know, I really investigated a lot, and 3 years ago, I think my partner Hovav is more of my silent partner internationally. Most of the people internationally know me because you know I want Josh Loisley. I'm doing this podcast with you, but Hovav is the mastermind behind us. Okay, he came to me and asked me if I want to do a podcast with him in Hebrew about fantasy. And the fun, you know what the crazy funny thing is? I tried to do one season before a podcast with someone else. We had 5 episodes, and then he wasn't serious enough about it, so we didn't continue. And the same day, I wanted to ask Hovav, my partner, if he wants to do a podcast with me. Exactly the same day. It was crazy, you know, crazy funny because I he started talking with me, and I was about to send him a message, WhatsApp, and ask him if he wants to do a podcast. And we started to do a podcast in Hebrew in Israel. And you know, we are the same as you in the Philippines. Okay, you are really strong. Everybody knows you in the fantasy community in the Philippines. So we're the same in Israel. Especially now after last year that I won Josh Lloyd's league, and we have a really nice community, fantasy community in Israel. It's smaller than in the Philippines. Okay, we have a Facebook group with about 1,100 people. Your Facebook groups are about 5,000 people. You know, so there's still a difference. But we're a very strong community, very strong in fantasy, and me and Chovav were having, as I said, a podcast for the 4th year now, I think, and most of the people from the community hear our podcast, and we're known, and a lot of people, you know, asking for advice and things. So after 2 years, we talked about what's the next step, and we came with the idea of the app. Okay, um, we wanted to succeed internationally, and you know it's something that takes time, and we thought that our knowledge is sufficient for people to learn from it. You know, that we have something to give. Okay, not just, you know, publish an app and everything. We value our knowledge, and to tell you the truth, I think I have different takes that most of the industry, okay, about things. Okay, we'll talk about some of them later. I see a lot of things differently, um, and you know, I'm succeeding. So I'm not saying there's no one way in fantasy, okay, but my and Chovav's way, we're doing all right. You know, we seem to we seem I I'm looking at myself as you know, a researcher that continues researching, and you know, have a lot of conclusions all of the time, and I don't stop. I have people around me that are, you know, playing 15 years and playing at the same level for year after year after year, you're doing, about the same things. And I'm really every year trying to evolve my game, trying to learn things new, trying to consider new possibilities. Um, and now we're sharing it in our app. And last year we we started with it. This year we already upgraded it a lot. Next year I guess we'll upgrade it more. Okay. And this is about my story. Year after year I'm now playing in more leagues. I really like this year. I have two international leagues, big leagues. The LOFB ball and the World Cup of FBI and Just Lloyd. So and I have my leagues, Roto League. I have a head-to-head leagues. I've in head-to-head. I have leagues of categories, leagues of one win. I don't like points, but one win is a head-to-head combat, but it's different. You need to strategize differently. I have leagues without a game limit in head-to-head. I have leagues with game limit in head-to-head. I'm trying to taste everything, okay, and to be good, to have good knowledge in everything, and understand all the nuances, because there's a lot of nuances. And the difference between a good and a great fantasy player is really big. Okay, you can have success in fantasy, you can be a good player, but to be a great player, to understand the core of the game. I don't know a lot of people that really understand it. But fantasy. The beautiful thing is that you can play it in the level that you want. You want to research it, great. You want to be casual with two leagues just to pass time, and not to think about it too much. That's great too. There's place for everybody.
Yeah, totally agree. And I love how you shared the passion that ignited from you, like on the off the bat, like the first it's like a love at
Yeah,
first
yeah.
sight, right? And
The
then
passion is there. During the fantasy season, I know I'm sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night max, and I'm okay with it. I know that I'll get my sleep, like a bear in the winter. So I have, I have since the season end to the new beginning of the new season. I have time to sleep well. I'll have time to sleep well during the season. No way.
you're like the Kobe of fantasy basketball. You have like that Mamba mentality. Like
Oh my God, no, no, I'm the Duncan of the
oh
of
no,
the
I love Tim Duncan. I was a San Antonio
I'm the
Spurs
Duncan
fan.
man. I'm not the Kobe. I'm not the
There
Kobe
you
man.
go. Fist bump
I'm
for the Dunk.
fist pump
He's the
man.
goat.
Fist,
He's the goat.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You know what? Just like a side note there, I would love to have an episode wherein you help us discuss how to create to understand Z scores, how to rate or
That would
give
be great.
rate players because you created an app. You and your buddy needs to be in an episode to us we
Great,
can
and
actually share it.
he'll be happy to join too. I can be solo. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I'll explain because I really view this differently than Josh Lloyd, for example. He tried to, find new solutions this season with the blocks and everything. I have my takes about the situation. I talked with people with degrees in stats, in statistics, and people that did research here. I have my own conclusions. We won't enter it now, but and about head to head, something that we'll talk. Let's start with the episode. I'll have a lot of interesting things to share now.
Sure, sure, sure. We I just wanted to really um uh start it start it off by really sharing our stories. So now let's talk about draft strategies. In
Okay.
general, um, do you have a formula right away when you started off fantasy basketball, like in your mind, given that you are good at math, you have an economics degree, you see numbers differently compared to us, right? So,
No, I'm not talking compared to you to everyone. No, there are people that looks like me. But when I look at myself opposing to most of the people I am hearing for the industry, I think I view things a bit differently.
yeah,
It's not like I'm a unicorn that no man, no, don't give me those titles. I'm I'm down to earth. I don't think I'm the best player in the world or something like that, you know.
yeah. But my point there is, you're one of the few who sees it differently. Because, like for example, me, I don't have your discipline. You know, you have you have an understanding and you stick to it. Me, I kind of like sometimes being drawn to certain players that I kind of like. So with that said, we would love to hear how you strategize drafts, might it be head to head or roto, and then how you discipline yourself in sticking to that formula.
Okay, so first of all, you need to know, and it doesn't matter if it's roto or head to head. One thing that most of the people neglect or don't understand, the knowledge of the league that you're joining to. Okay, there's a lot of things to understand because let's take for example head to head. Okay, let's take for example head to head. You're playing and you need to win at least 5 categories. Okay, right? You know the way to achieve victory is to be the best every week in 5 categories, especially in the playoffs. In the playoffs, the only thing that matters. Okay, you need to be good enough to win, to get to the playoff, and in the playoff you need to win 5 categories. And as I see it, the categories that you're gonna go to win, do you going to focus on, are depend on what is the league you're playing in. Okay, for example, I'll explain myself. I know that most of the leagues outside of my country, okay, don't use Z scores too much, okay, and you know, not as much as us. And I know that most of the players neglect turnovers, okay. Most of the players avoid looking at turnovers and trying to win two specific categories, that is points and assists. There's a lot of focus on points and assists. My take is, why trying to win categories that everybody else trying to win? Go and win the categories that no one else trying to win. Okay, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Turnovers, nobody trying to win turnovers. Go and win turnovers. And always when I say it, people answer me, turnovers you can win by not playing. Okay, but that is, you know, not a smart thing to think, because I'm not trying to win only turnovers. Okay, if I won't play, I win turnovers, but I lose the other categories. Okay, now let me give you an example. Okay, I'll give you two players. Okay, that have the exact same numbers. Okay, in 7 categories except turnovers and assists. Okay, one is great at assists and bad at turnovers, and one doesn't lose the ball. Okay, at least almost never loses the ball. Okay, almost never turns over the ball, but he has a low assist rate. Okay, who of them you think will be drafted higher?
Of course, the ones with more assist and high turnover, because people love
Exactly.
those.
Exactly. And as I see it, most of the times there would be, like two two rounds difference between those two players. But if I'll have the one with low turnovers and you have the one with high assists, will be exactly the same in the other categories. Okay, so I'm trying to win the easy categories, not by turnovers, but by not playing. I want to have great players, okay, with low turnovers, but and I don't really need that all of my players would have strong low turnovers. Okay, I can have few players with bad assist turnovers ratio, okay, and punt assist, and still win the turnovers with players like Embiid, for example. Okay, but it's easier to win the turnovers than the assists. That's one example. Second example, again, in Just Lloyd's League, okay, that I won last year, okay, I knew that I need to focus myself on 5 categories, okay, turnovers, percentages, free throws and field goals, and defensive stats. Why? Because most of the people like to have players that score a lot, assist a lot, and rebound the ball a lot. Okay, those are the main things. Uh, so again, I'm going to play like the opposite of the others. Okay, now don't get me wrong. My team was really strong in points in the last week. My team with the 39 games limit, it had more than 800 points. Okay, it's not like I'm saying, okay, fourth round, I'll take someone, I'll take someone that doesn't worth the first round. I'll try to get points. I'll try to get a assist if I can, okay? But I won't reach for players for it, okay? I won't do that, okay? I'm all about value, okay? If 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 the price is right, I'll get the player. If not, I'll take someone else. Okay. So you need to first have discipline to do it, and secondly, you need to be smart as well. Okay. I won't get only valuable players that loses the ball little. Okay, and from there they get their value. Okay, then I'll be overkilling turnovers and won't have enough value in the other categories. Okay, so I need to be smart and think about the players that I have. Okay, but I'm not reaching for assist. I prefer punting assist than taking every round player that's worth third round taking fourth round player just because of assist. Okay, and fifth round getting sixth round player only because he have a lot of assists. There's a real war in this category, and this is the least favorite of my categories. I really don't like assist because it's a really big war. Okay, so if I have Halliburton in the first round, okay, great, and I have an opportunity to get someone with I assist, great. I'm not opposed to it, okay? But again, it's all about value. That's the first thing, okay? Percentages, yeah, I know the conversation, and steals as well. I know the conversation that that between week to week there are big differences, okay? And the player that steals the ball 1.7 steals a game can have a stretch of 3 games with one steal, and the player that has a half a steal a game can have 1 game with 3 steals. Okay, but if everybody neglects the categories, I can have a lot of players that steal the ball a lot, okay? And then the chance that I lose the category is really small, okay? People drafting Jimmy Butler at the third round. I think that's crazy, okay? Yeah, I understand he has a problem with his health, okay? He's not really durable, but Durant is durable. Steph is durable. You're looking at the first round players, half of them aren't durable. So why all of them get to be still be first round players? And Butler is per game a late first round player or borderline first round player gets down to third round. Okay, that doesn't make sense to me. So in a lot of leagues, like last year, for example, I had Jimmy in a lot of leagues. So I'm focusing on this. This year, I know that I'm going to be in my international leagues strong in blocks for the reason that a lot of people now neglect the big blocks, and Triple J is going end of second round, beginning of the third round. Okay, I value him much more. Why? Because I'm not blind and looking only on these scores, but I give a lot of respect for these scores. And again, although all of the points Josh Lloyd made, I have my analysis, okay, and my numbers, and I know that in my book, Triple J is a top 15 player, okay, top 14 player. I'll get blocked. I see players that have a huge block. The center of Utah. No, I'm forgetting names. How it's called? No,
Kessler.
yeah, Kessler. Kessler is going fifth, sixth round. No, I'm taking a fourth round. Okay, so if I know he won't be picked till 60, and I have the 55th pick, I'll take him. So as I said, you need to know the mentality of the league you're in. Okay, you need to know the mentality about certain players. Okay, for example, Vucevic, I value him much more than most of the people I hear. Okay, sadly, I didn't get him in Josh Lloyd's league. I took a gamble. Okay, I value him as a top 35 players. Okay, player. Okay, I didn't took him in this pick because I saw that in other leagues is picked 58, 59. I had the 56th pick. I said I'll take a gamble on it. The one before me took him. Okay, but it was okay because I got DeRozan in 56. I really think he's worth the pick. Okay, but no, in my leagues, in Israel, Vucevic won't get to 56. Never. Okay, he will be picked much sooner. Okay, so there's a difference. I'm not saying about Vucevic if it's right or wrong. I'm saying you need to know the audience that plays in your league. You need to know the mentality of the league. Okay, so when you're asking me about strategy, okay, I have in a few hours 2 drafts. Okay, I really have 2 drafts, 2 auction drafts. Okay, one of them with a partner. Ask me what would be our strategy. I told them this league, I have one strategy, the other league, two, exact the same leagues, 12 team roto leagues, okay? But in one league, I have really different strategy. Now, why? Because I know it's other audience, okay? For example, as I said to you, in my other leagues, they look at things about the same as me. So there I'll try to take more player with a lot of points and assists and everything, and maybe punt turnovers there because most of the people won't punt turnovers in my other leagues. So as I said, to know your league, to have knowledge about the mentality of the players in your league is one of the most important things. Okay, because most of the people go and just do it blind. I have my strategy A, B, C, D. No, you need to adapt. You need to adapt. You need to understand who you're playing against. Okay. Whoa, I talked a lot. uh,
No, actually,
so
I love it because me myself is already learning because I see myself as will always be as someone that will always be a student of the hobby or fantasy basketball. And I'm gonna be honest with you. In the past couple of years, I'm someone that you were actually mentioning, someone that are uh leaning more on the popcorn stats, as we say it, because it's sexier. People see it a little bit sexier than usual. But the reason why I hope you saw my post like a couple of days ago. The reason why I posted that, because that's one of the few times wherein I really considered the things that you mentioned, trying to be more efficient, lesser TOs, not looking at players that a little bit sexier than other. That's the reason why I was proud of it, because now I get the feeling. Now I understand that you're actually killing it when where you're doing that kind of approach. So I really appreciated that you're sharing this, because this is a breath of fresh air for me, and I'm pretty sure it's also a breath of fresh air to other fantasy basketball GMs, because as you mentioned, there's a lot of references right now, and then sometimes they are a little bit templated, almost similar to each other. So hearing something like this is going to be valuable if you really want to learn more about fantasy basketball.
Yeah,
Um,
I have example of a player. Okay, Kuzma.
sure, sure.
Okay, Kuzma. I'm thinking getting picked at pick 8, pick 7, pick 9 in leagues. He's a player that is going to kill your turnovers, your field goals, your free throws, and your steals as well. He doesn't steal the ball a lot. He's good at some builds, okay, but when you're playing again in to understand me, uh, in one of my leagues, someone took a player, threw him to the waiver wire yesterday. Okay, now I think it's stupid. Okay, I don't think you need to throw Kuzma to the waiver wire. Okay, I took him. Okay, I took him first, but just to understand the difference of the mentality. Okay, I don't think that there's any chance that someone uh, will drop Kuzma in one of my international leagues outside of Israel. Okay, so again, this is really important part of the game, and to go and try to win the free throw percentages or field goals percentages. By the way, field goals aren't that it's are easier to predict than free throws. Free throws, yeah, DeRozan can, even Steph can have a 75% week. Okay, that can happen. Okay, but field goals, a center that most of his shots, he dunks, usually won't have a 45% week. So again, I understand that people talking about the variance, okay, but you need to consider it opposing to the competition. A really big, strong competition in the points category, or almost no competition in steals. That yes, there is a variance there. You can have a really bad week of your players, but you in such a big advantage from the beginning, because most of the people neglect this category. You have such a big advantage that you don't need your players to be to have their average steal rate. Okay, you can have them less still lesser steals than usually and still win. Okay, so that was my complete point of the subject, sir.
Sure, sure. And then so in that build, in the approach that you're sharing to us, is there like a so you still approach it so let me rephrase that, because some a statement that I always hear or I always see in some of the episodes are don't draft these players. So do you have something like that in your strategy? Or you mentioned
No,
earlier that you
no,
have to adapt. So I guess
I have no such thing as no don't draft players. I have the value opposed to the pick. So a player, I don't mind. Every player can be in my team as long as I get him in the right value. Okay, there's no such thing. I won't have this player. I probably won't have Zion on any team because I'm willing to pick him in pick 9. Okay, I'm willing. I'll take if he's free, great. But I guess someone would be stupid enough to pick him at pick 5. Okay, and gamble on his health. I'm not ready to gamble on his health at pick 5. But pick 9, great. Okay, so I don't have that kind of thing. Do not draft player, except the players that aren't in the top 120. Okay, so you know, uh, Okuru is a is a, I won't draft Okuru. Okay, but except of the players that aren't rosterable, I don't have such a thing. But there are players that I know I won't have because everybody are getting crazy over them. Julius Randle, I won't take him because I don't think he's worth the pick. But again, if I'm playing in an Israeli league, where people have a similar mentality, maybe I'll punt turnovers and free throws or field goals, and then I'll take him earlier because he's worth much more. So
And
so
uh,
there's no such a thing for me. Do not draft player. And punts, as I said, it depends. It depends on the league as well. Okay, strategy as well. The players that I'm aiming for as well. Everybody's everything is depends on where I'm playing and what I'm going to do is I know and when I don't have the knowledge and I'm starting the draft, I need to understand what happened during the draft, and sometimes if I don't have the knowledge, I'll punt aggressively, like I did in Josh Lloyd's league. I punted aggressively from the 12th spot, not Josh Lloyd's league, the World Cup. I punted assists and steals there, very very aggressively, very aggressively, um, and I really like my team there. Really like it.
so something that I would like to know your thoughts are, so we've kind of like essentially we've tackled like part of the stats perspective, right? So how about position perspective? Um have you noticed a trend this season in comparison to previous season in terms of position wise? Because we all know that hey there's a categorical scarcity, points, assists and all. But how about position? Um, given that you tend to value turnovers more than usual, does it mean that you tend to draft bigs initially or forwards initially over guards, or how do you approach position?
Value. If I see, for example, the first personally me, I'll try to get players that turn over the balls more, the turnover the ball more in the first rounds because I know I have the tendency to go in the later round for players that have value because of turnovers. Okay, so I'll try to stack myself with turnovers in the first rounds. Not to overkill the category. I don't want to win by a margin in that category. Okay. And one thing I forgot to say, I can relate to head-to-head players that have no game limit and neglect turnovers. Okay, I'm not talking about punting turnovers and picking a lot of players that have really high turnovers. I'm talking about neglecting the category. Don't not looking at it, and it's not exactly the same when you're pointing to players when you're searching for players that are bad in turnovers to get value, and when you just avoid looking at the category and don't look at it at all. So I can understand people that I can relate to them when they think I'm looking at the number of games, because if I play 50 games and you play 40 games, okay, so maybe you'll be strong at maybe I'll be strong at turnovers and lose because I'm playing that much more than you. Okay, but when there's game limit. Man, that's exactly the same as a category as the others. Everybody are playing 40 games max, okay? You have to have respect for turnovers. You have to have respect, or else we're starting the match when I'm leading 1-0. Okay, I'm leading because I had respect for the category. Okay, so as I said, personally, because I have this tendency, for example, last year, Horford, I had him in almost all of the leagues. I knew that nobody likes Horford. He's top. He's top. The year before he was about top 70. But if you pan turnovers, you look that he's a top 110, something like that. So if I'm getting to the eighth, ninth pick, for example, with pretty with low turnovers, I don't have any reason to take him because his low turnovers doesn't help me. But if I stacked myself with turnovers in the first rounds, okay, and I don't neglect turnovers, I want to get lower turnovers is perfect for me, and I'm getting a lot of value from picking him in the ninth round when he is worth a sixth round per game. So okay, because of the turnovers, but the turnovers helped me. He won me the category. Okay, know what I'm saying? Makes sense.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And it's something that I try to do more this time. Unfortunately, I'm practicing it in live drops, so I wasn't able to do it before. But yeah, I love challenges. To be honest, I love challenges, and I love I whenever I have opportunity to observe and learn, I love being in a position even in a losing side. But if I'm able to learn out of it, totally fine with me because there's a lot more seasons coming up for me to really be better and then adopt on something that I learned that works because that's something that is also very important to you. Me personally, I think you really need to find a certain preference that you're comfortable with because sometimes if it doesn't fit your personality and your preference and you're just listening to any analyst and you're just following what they're saying, at some point in time, you definitely get frustrated. Because if it doesn't work, then how would you make a decision? If you're just following something, how would you be adaptable to draft in any leagues or any formats? Now, quick question, just a small amount of question. Does a league with lesser center matters in your strategy?
Yes, of course.
So if that's the case, because me, yes, it matters, but it doesn't really push me to get center eligible players just for the sake of getting big man stats. Because in that way, I would be able to get more stats out of it. One good example is if I am in a league with only one center eligibility, I won't force myself to get a lot of bigs. I'd rather have the likes of Josh Hart, who gives me good amount of rebounds, but also give me a other categories. I wanted to point this one out because some GMs doesn't give value in reviewing settings and understanding that this type of variation actually is big enough for you to change your strategy. And also, I would like to share that don't box your assumptions that assist comes only from guards or like for example my example earlier, rebounds comes only from bigs because there's a lot of players that can give you not probably like a 10 stat category for like assist or rebounds, but they'll definitely give you a consistent 5 to 6 or 7. That's gonna matter because in comparison to big man, if you're getting a big man with just for the sake of blocks, remember and this isn't like a known big man that isn't efficient, then you'll definitely be losing 3 points. You'll definitely be losing assists. You'll definitely be losing probably points. And then what else? Maybe steals if it doesn't if that big man really doesn't, give you steals. Imagine you're losing four or more stats out of it. Oh, plus free throw percentage if he doesn't shoot well. So you're just for the sake of getting blocks, you're actually putting away five categories that you would have like pumped your team with. So yeah, I just want to put it there because me I really love what you're trying to say. I just want to highlight some of it because there are also new fantasy GMs that is actually checking our or consuming our content, right? So I would like to give them some a little bit of help in terms of realizing such um, factors, not only drafts, trades, and all. You have to review the settings. That's very, very important before going to the draft.
You
Anything else you
know,
want to add that you
yeah, you
think
said
is
something
important?
that is really, really, really true, and most of the managers overlook. A manager that is looking for a big man will notice that one big man rebounds the ball 2.5 rebounds more than the other. Okay, but when they will try to get a guard, they won't notice that. Okay, for example, Tyler Hero. Okay, he is rebounding the ball really well. Okay, I'm not talking about Josh Hart because Josh Hart is, is the top the top rebounder as a guard. Okay, so you have to notice that because it's 7 rebounds. Okay, but if I have a guard that rebounds 5.5 rebounds a game, opposed to 2.5 rebounds a game, okay, or 3 rebounds a game, okay, that's the difference between the exactly the same difference like the centers, okay, but there I noticed that there, and here I'm not noticing that, okay. So we have to understand that I can be good in blocks even if I don't have a specialist, okay. If I have 4 players that block one block again, it's exactly the same if I have 2 players that block 1.8 and 2 players that block 0.2. Okay, we have exactly the same numbers. Okay, but here you're thinking that you're a good blocking team because you have 2 specialists, and here you think that it's not a good blocking team because you don't have any specialists. So you need to value your team as a whole, okay? And every player look at all of his stats, even the stats that that aren't suited for his role. Okay, so you said about assists in centers, you're exactly right. But rebounds, as you said, in guards aren't seen at all. Nobody looks at it.
Totally
And
agree.
it's very important. And what you said about the league with only one center, in those leagues, I'll try to win the bigs categories. Okay, why? It's easier because most of the people won't tag themselves with centers. Okay, I will. Okay, because people think, oh, I need only one center. Great, I'll take another one to my utility. That's I'll take two. Okay,
True, true. It's more of like a misleading concept, right? Like physically you see, oh, I don't need centers because there's only one center. But remember, there's utility there. So basically you can put any position. So yeah, totally. That was a very slick move. Um now, in terms of drafting younger players versus older players, let's put another category which is non-durable players because something that I noticed in in at least for this year, since the pandemic season, people are really getting pickier and pickier in drafting players that even they are good, as long as they have historical injury related associated to them, or maybe they're getting old, they are not yet or they are past their prime and all. They are willing to pass on that over younger or upside players. So my problem there is value, because if you're too aggressive on that, you're actually passing on value. I do get it. The upside sometimes, no, not sometimes. Most of the times, a perfectly pulled upside pick wins you leagues, right? Uh, Now, my question is, how do you approach these three considerations, and then at what point in your draft do you usually get those upside picks?
Okay, so it's easy. In Rotor, I just trying to look at my projections and do a calculation of with replacement players, with the value of the 120th player that plays the thing I project the other players won't play. And I use math. In head-to-head, it's different. Okay, in head-to-head, what I'm doing is, as long as my pick is in the first picks, one of the first picks, I'll be more more solid with my picks without gambling. Okay, if I'm starting with Jokic, for example, I won't have problem losing value for durable players. Okay, because I'm good on value. Okay, but if I'm picking 12th, uh, and I'll pass on the opportunity to have high upside players to get durable players. The difference between me and the guy that has Jokic from a value point of view after two rounds will be huge. Okay, so I need to see where I can take how much risk do I need to take, and it's dependent on my situation in the draft. Okay, so if I see that this is a draft that the people there aren't don't have the same thinking of me about the players that I can have a lot of value uh, in my picks. Okay, so I won't have problem to to one or two picks take more durable players, because I know there's a lot of value in other places. But if I know that people are picking about the same as me and I have disadvantage, so I need to gamble. I need to gamble on the risky players if I want to have any sort of advantage, or level the playing field.
Yeah. And people, so this is going to be I would really value your answer here, because as you can see, me, you, DMAC, and other um passionate fantasy GMs or analysts, as we call us, uh really want to share the fun and everything that is satisfying in playing fantasy basketball to other people, right? So now, as someone who is very analytical about fantasy basketball, how would you encourage a casual NBA fan to play fantasy basketball? Because they always have this connotation that, oh, fantasy is only for people who are good in math. It's hard. I hate numbers, because most, especially in the Philippines, we kind of like, it's weird that we're Asian, but we kind of like really hate numbers, right? So I want to learn your perspective here, because part of our job, our passion is to really sell fantasy basketball, because we really want more people to know about it, more people to be better at it, right? So how would you sell fantasy basketball to a casual fan?
As I said before, there is place for everybody. You don't have to, if you don't want to compete at a really high level, if you just want to pick, players you like and follow them, go and join a league that's suiting your, suited for your expectations and for your level of, interest. Okay, fantasy is really fun. It's really fun either if you're taking it seriously like me, or if you're a casual fan that just wants more incentive to watch games. Okay, look, a fantasy addict like myself, in the middle of the season, if I have, the most boring game, but I have their players, opposed to if there's the most exciting game in TV and I don't have their players, I'll watch the game that I have players, even if it's a boring game like Houston against, I don't know, Houston against Detroit. Okay, a game that nobody last year wanted to watch. But if I have players from those teams, it becomes exciting. A person that doesn't play fantasy doesn't understand how exciting it is to see your player blocks a shot, okay, or making a 3 point. Okay, it's a blast. It's fun. It's crazy fun, and becomes more fun than watching a regular high quality game for me. Okay, so if you're looking for the fun of it, great. I take it as much as you can. You don't. I'm hearing podcast. There are people that hear much more than me podcast because I like to hear here and there, but a lot of time I don't have the time for it. Okay, there are people that hear more podcasts, read more articles. There are people that don't do it, don't read any articles. The spectrum is so wide. Okay, so you can join as a casual fan and see that you don't want to be casual fantasy player. It's so much fun to learn from it. Okay, and you know what, Roy? It's not for everybody. Okay, it's not for everybody. I have a player. I have a friend, a really close friend, that tried fantasy. He really liked it, but he became a bit obsessed with it, and he felt bad about it. Not like myself, that I became obsessed and I'm really good at it, with it, and I'm fine with it, and my wife accepts it and everything. And he retired from fantasy. He stopped playing. Okay, it's not like everybody have to love it, but most of the people that I know that tried it really liked it. It's fun. What's more fun for a basketball fan? Okay, to play a game and be the manager of the team.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm gonna share with you something. I actually used fantasy in one of my managerial interviews before, wherein they asked me, tell me something unique about you that keeps you apart from other managers. You know what I told them? So well, I started off like this is going to be very unique because I'm gonna share something that is called fantasy basketball, and then I told them a brief description of fantasy basketball, and then told them that you know what, I was actually winning a lot of leagues as a GM in fantasy basketball. And for me to have a hone a skill in profiling players, understanding how a team works, wherein a certain specialist um kind of like helps another player that has a deficiency in such stat. Imagine having a person in your team that has this skill. I think I'm going to be I'm actually offering you something different that not all of other manager candidate could bring to the table. I was like laughing in my head because I never ever in my life thought of using fantasy basketball in an interview. So that's how kind of like I really loved and I was passionate about fantasy basketball. And everything you mentioned, I kind of like appreciate it more given that I hear more people like you that also appreciates it. Um, as we,
I have to tell you something. I have to tell you something
yeah, go.
that I didn't tell you. I Before we started recording, way back, I heard about you, from the Twitter and from the Facebook and everything. I knew that you are a strong podcaster in the Philippines, and I've read a few times analysis that you did, and I was really impressed. Just for you to know, a few times that you wrote about players, and I thought, whoa, man, it was really spot on. So when we started talking, I was excited because I thought to myself, oh, he's someone that he knows what he's doing. It's not like I'm going to do a podcast to to people to know me, and I don't care with whom I doing it with. I was really excited because I really appreciated the things that you wrote, and in a number of occasions, not one time, just for you to know. Respect, brother.
There you go. Respect, respect. And I started everything of this without even thinking on monetizing it, without even thinking of, hey, I want followers or whatnot. I never sell that idea. I know I'm just in it for fun. I'm think of me as like that nerdy kid that, like you, knew fantasy basketball but can sometimes can find someone to talk to about it. So we're we're searching for other people who appreciates this stuff, the things that we're talking about. Which is, for me, it's there's a certain high from it. There's a certain addiction from it, and I love it. I love talking about it. Some of the parting words this time. This is going to be a little bit specific. Um, this year, um, share a trend that you saw in drafts, the recent drafts that you kind of like attended to and are also planning to do. Did you notice anything about certain players that are being usually reached, certain categories that are being pulled earlier? We all know the assist and points that you've mentioned earlier, but anything else that you notice?
I've already said before, blocks are pushed back. Okay, so I'm going to concentrate of building a strong blocking team. Okay, because I can get blockers in a really nice value. That is one thing. The other, I need to think about it because we didn't talk about it for advanced from so I don't have something to pull out of my sleeve, so I say with the blocks, and I need to think about some other things. There's the players, like every year. Okay, a lot of people are this year are going to punt field goals. It became really popular because you have now the blocks category from people with low field goal percentage. You have Wemby, you have Chet. They're really suited. Players like Porzingis that we already had, but now there's there, there's a few of them. JJJ, Turner, players that don't have, this. They're not the usual centers with 60% field goals percentage and about the same in free throws. You have now shooters, really good shooters, or players again that shoot from far away, like Porzingis, as we talked about, and the others. So a lot of people feel much more safe punting field goals because they know that they can punt field goals and rebounds and not to triple punt with blocks because there's a lot of possibilities. So it becomes, much more common than in other years. And players like last year, the one from Detroit, no, the point guard. Oh,
Cade Cunningham.
Cade. Cade is going in the second round again, a lot. I don't understand why, to tell you the truth. I understand the upside. Okay, he's got crazy upside. Okay, I view him as a first round player in couple of years, 2, 3, maybe 4 years. But I don't understand how you can take player that didn't had a success close to this in his prior 2 years. Okay, he's a third year player, is going to improve. Okay, but this is a pick that I really don't like. Okay, most of the player like, I dislike it. So that's about the things that go through my mind now
Yeah.
without a warning.
Sure, sure. I just thought of it right now because I'm currently drafting, and then something that I notice is, uh, as th- there's a lot of value this season. That's one thing. In comparison to last season, in general, right? In general, without punting any categories, because there are several players who were injured that are now healthy. There are strong rookies and sophomores that are available right now. There are strong role players and six man are also available within across spread all throughout the draft, right? So for me, I am thinking, if you're really listening to this, whoever you are, fantasy GM, I think this is the year that you need to seriously learn and appreciate how to create a theme or a strategy for your own team. Given that values are spread, then creating the theme is going to matter. Because even though you pick good players, sometimes the good players aren't the players you need to really win the league. So understanding fit for me is going to, I would assume, just on top of my head, is going to matter this year. I know it matters every year. I just thought that given that there's a lot of options, then tenure GMs that knows their own thing, have a plan beforehand, is going to be a big advantage. It was always an advantage, but I don't know. What do you think? That's just something that I noticed.
I agree, but I have to be really picky about it. A lot of people trying to, have a first round and second round combinations and thinking like, okay, I have a first round a lot of points, the second round I want blocks or whatever, field goals, assist, I don't care. When you're building a team, you need to remember that the two first picks are only two picks, okay? A lot of time people watch me draft or consulting with me and want to pick two guards in the first couple of rounds. And then they say, okay, so I need to block to punt blocks. Why or rebounds or something like, or field goals. Why the hell do you need to punt one of those categories? Drafted you drafted two guards, okay? You're gonna draft bigs later, okay? Think about that. It doesn't mean that you need to punt a category now. If you had drafted two bigs that have low field goal percentage, yes, you have to punt, okay? But if you don't, that doesn't make sense, okay? That doesn't make sense. Guards usually don't score the ball efficiently, okay? So again, it makes sense. So it's you need to see more than the stats that you got. You need to see it with, you know, with the position, okay? And you need to think on the 11 picks that are left, okay? And how you do it, not just pair. The pairing, I really don't like it. I have two reasons for pairing, okay? Not two reasons, two ways for pairing. The first one, if you see that both of them are really suited for the same punt, and you're going to punt aggressively from this point and so this is the first way of pairing. The second way of pairing, BPA first round, BPA second round. Okay, the build is you are totally right, but most of the people, I think, view this view this as something that you have to do from the bat. But look, if you're saying, let's talk about it for a second, okay? If after 2 rounds you're saying I wicket assist, okay, I have to pick someone that has a lot of assist, okay, and I'm willing to pick a fourth rounder in the third round because I'm desperate for assist. Okay, you did it. The fourth round, you see, oh damn, I'm starting to be weak at rebounds. So I'll reach for a player that is good in rebounds because I need to take to have rebounds now. From round to round, you're getting less value. And your options, your possibilities, getting through the seasons are getting skinnier. I don't know how to explain it in English. You have less value to trade. The league doesn't end in the draft. And this is something very important as well. Oh, this is something really important to know the league. One of the things that you need to know about your league, if there's a lot of trades there or not. Okay, this is really important because I'm playing in a lot of leagues that there's a ton of trades. So if there's a ton of trades and it's really easy to trade there, so I'll take value. I'll take value because I know that with this value I can buy, economics. I can buy other merchandise, other stats that are suited for me. Okay, and I don't need to reach for players. And if I don't, if I'm in a league that I know that almost there's no trades there, or even in a league that there's no trades there, I need to build my team accordingly. Okay, so if I said that I want to be strong at 5-6 categories, I need to do that. Okay, I need to see how I'm doing it, but it doesn't end in the second, third, fourth round. Okay, ninth round picks are valuable as well. They can, close the gap. A player that scores 14 points opposed to a player that scores 8, is exactly the same gap between a player that scores 28 opposed to a player that scores 22. It's exactly the same 6 points. We already talked about it. I have to stress it again because it's really important. Okay? That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, totally agree. And then um something that I would I can never say better than what you mentioned. I love that you highlight that. Something that a little bit that I want to add would be that's the reason me personally, I create tires. So when you create tires, you kind of like, hey, which are the players that provides such categories that I need that are spread all throughout top 200, top 100 plus that are available every round. So the moment that you need to adjust and there's a value within that round, on the back of your head, totally fine if I don't get this category or this player because there's another player that almost brings the same thing that is available for me at the latter part of the round. So
Exactly.
that's gonna matter. One good tool for you guys to really check on it specifically for Yahoo is go in the presenter mode. Because in the presenter mode, you see all of the drafts accordingly per teams. So while waiting for your turn, you can actually analyze. Oh, there's a lot of teams that are already getting bigs. Oh, there's a lot of things are already getting um uh guards or assists or a specific category. Now you can actually analyze what's your next move. It's either you counter flow or you, hey, I needed a big. This is the only, possibly this is the only round that I could get a solid big, then maybe I need to get one. So we'll let it to you guys because we have different preferences, we have different approaches. But the thing is, we are suggesting is to really pay attention to those details, find a way to make time and research. And then also, drafting is not just about choosing players. It's about decision making on what you want to do. It's about recognizing value. It's about choosing players that will make you better over players that are just nice. I know it's hard. Me, myself, I always, tiptoed on that fine line. Sometimes I have this quirk wherein I need to get this guy. I think I'm doing well. Let me get this one. But of course, again, if you want to really win, you have to be really disciplined. And that's the reason why I love being with someone like Arik because I really admire his discipline. I think you're already influencing me to be better in drafts and treat it a little bit more serious than I used to. And
I'm
then
really passionate about strategy, really passionate. You can see I can't stop talking because this is the part of fantasy that I like most of the other parts, and I like every part of fantasy. But to strategize, for me, it's the greatest part.
There you go. There you go. And then what a way to end our second part of draft analysis.
I
Anything you want to
can I
add?
have?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, something for the roto players. There are not a lot of roto players, but if you're listening and you're a roto player, and you heard this huge misconception that you don't punt in roto, oh man, oh man, not true, not true. First of all, if you're playing in an auction league, punting is not only not forbidden, you should punt. Okay, if you're playing in a high quality league that you can't get a lot of value from players that you're drafting, you can punt. Yes, in snake drafts, you need to strategize and do a hard work to punt. You need to, from advance, to think about the some of the most important players of the punt that you need to take. But it's okay to draft to punt in roto. I'm doing it in a lot of my leagues. Last year, I punted points in one league and I won, and I punted points and points three and threes and the semi punt of free throw percentages, and I finished second only because one of the players had a crazy team that no matter what I've done, I wouldn't have finished first. Okay, so the thought that you shouldn't punt is wrong. You need to understand if your league is competitive or not. Okay, if your league isn't competitive and there are few teams that are with a ton of points, you shouldn't punt, or maybe you shouldn't punt, at least not double punt. What I'm doing in Roto as well. But if it's a competitive league and you know that 72 points, for example, in an ordinary 9 cat 12 team league will win you a championship because you know the history of the league, punt. Don't be scared. It's okay. Strategize. Think about the players before. Have a plan. But it's really okay. And the opposite in head-to-head, you don't have to punt. Okay. Okay. It's a good strategy to punt, but you don't have to punt. In Josh Lloyd's league, I didn't punt because I had maybe a soft assist punt, and it's only because of value. If I had players, I didn't disregard the category. If I could have bring a player with a high assist, I picked up Tyus Jones when Ja was injured, okay, suspended. I picked him up, okay. It's not a if I'm punting assist, I won't pick him up, okay, because I know I need to have team that is different from the other teams. So those are misconceptions that you don't have to use. And that's all. I think I'll elaborate about it more in some of the other episodes, or maybe sometime in the future, as well as our podcast, maybe a podcast of my own talking about those things. I don't know how it will get, but how it will be. Sorry, but I'm confident about what I'm saying now. Roto, no problem of punting at all. That's all.
Yeah.
And I'm stuck.
I want to really have an episode about that because me, I'm my first league was Roto. I was able to win a couple of Roto leagues, but consider me as someone like possibly lucky, or I don't know, maybe our league isn't where I really don't know. Maybe there's a lot of consideration because if you ask me, I can't consider me myself is doubting myself about my Roto strategy. Um, uh, piggyback on that quickly. Tell me your thoughts about this. I have so my strategy in Roto is doing it as a team. Wherein I try to pacify or limit or lessen negative stats of a certain player or certain position by drafting its counterpart in the other end of the spectrum. Say, for example, if I was able to draft a Trae Young, I really need to get at least five bigs that are also giving you rebounds and all. So my question there is, in Roto, um, is that a viable option, or do you really need to choose players that are already efficient?
It's a viable option, of course. What's the difference if I'm getting 80% from 190% and 170% player opposed to two 80% player? The thinking there, I don't really agree with the thought that there are players suited only for head-to-head and others for roto, okay? I don't agree with the thought. For example, there's a lot of players like Tobias Harris, you know, the high efficiency, low popcorn, not exciting players. That most of the people saying that they're suited for roto and less for head-to-head. I really don't agree. Okay, we talked about why. Okay, there are less sexy categories in head-to-head, and you can win them as well. You know, and a player that is good in all 9 categories could be really valuable, especially if because of it you're getting it in a really big discount. You know, Tobias Harris, you know, people picking him where I don't know his ADP, but I assume about 90, 80 something, you know, from the top of my sleeve. It's a player that is last year was what 50 something per game. You know, this year without Harden, at some point is supposed to be about the same. Say maybe top 60, top 70. You can get him at a really big discount. Why? Because it's really not exciting. He doesn't have any categories that is really that he has really big value in it. But again, as we talked before, I can have 11 Tobias Harris's, and then I'm good, really good at the percentages, at turnovers, at rebounds. Okay, so a player like this, if I'm getting him in a big discount, it's a blessing for me. Okay.
Yeah, and we'll definitely need to talk about it more in a separate episode. I'm looking forward to it already. I wanted to end the show, but I remember I promised our audience that every time we end our show, let's talk about a player, any player, randomly. Anything that you want to talk about. I want to talk about two players. Maybe you think of a player that you want to talk about randomly. No particular topic. It's more of like, hey, I just learned that this player is this, and then maybe I read the news or whatnot. Me personally, I just want to. This is going to be quick because this has been talked about for the past episodes that we had. I wanted to talk about Miles Bridges, and then I want to appreciate how Arik mentioned in the past couple of episodes that we did that. Yeah, I understand the value, I understand the upside and all, but we don't know if something happens, right? Which actually happened. So now, I luckily for me, I only have one stack of Miles Bridges because I always have this idea in my mind that I wanted to learn more about players every season. So I try. So whenever, so because you always do different strategies and all. So that's the reason why I got Miles Bridges, because if he hits, at least that I actually have Miles Bridges. Quick thoughts. Me, last pick, I might pick him up. Or maybe second to the last pick. I don't know. Because there's no final decision yet. But other than that, I'll try to really, won't draft him. I'll try not to lean more on putting myself to pick Miles Bridges in drafts. Yeah, that's
Oh
just
man,
my random thought.
the options should be really bad uh, for me to pick him. You know, I usually don't. I never look at the players as as human beings when I'm playing fantasy. There are peons in a game, but it's gotten to a point with Bridges that I already can't overlook, especially that I'm not sure about his value. You know, I won't be a saint, okay? If he was a 100% top 50 players, I won't, exclude him from players. It's a game, as I said. But if it's suspicious and if his value isn't certain, so I'll really try hard to find someone uh, with a similar upside to take and not to take him. And again, I think that the risk taking him are huge. So you shouldn't take him more than in your last or second to last pick.
There you go. And then how about you, Eric? Any random player you just read, you just thought, wanted to share, quickly talk about?
Yeah, Robert Covington,
There you go. Love it.
Rocco.
I love Rob.
Rocco.
I love Rocco.
I tweeted about him. The interesting thing, he started in the last preseason game of the Clippers, but that shouldn't interest you because you know people didn't play some players. But Tai Lu saying, admitting that he should have played more with him, that is man. Rocco should be picked. Oh man, oh boy, oh yeah, yeah. I'm not saying this is going to be the old top 50 player, okay, top 40 player. But if he's playing 25 plus minutes, man, he's worth having. He's the kind of player that can give you three, three pointers with 4 steals and 3 blocks in a game. You know, the games that you look and you starting crying from happiness. You know, is a ball of upside. Is it should be taken. It should be picked in the one of the last picks for his upside 100%. I saw it, I saw the news, and I picked him in all of my teams. If from the waiver wire. If I'm wrong, no harm. But if I'm right, oh man, it's not like he's a top 90 upside. We're talking about someone that a difference maker.
True. And good thing about Rocco is, um, well, number one, by the way, last year I was kind of like in my Q&As and even in my previous Q&As, I always tell a story about Rocco and about the Clippers not playing him because I really think that he should play more over Marcus Morris, like for the longest time.
He's a better player. He's a better player in
Exactly.
my. I think he's a better player.
And he has the ability to really shoot from the outside, which will create space for someone like Russell Westbrook or Paul George or Kawhi. Plus,
He's a better defender. He's a better defender, man.
and he plays center for Portland and Houston before. Another thing is, um, Tyloo was also mentioning about playing Zubac more in the post. So if that's the case, to really properly utilize that approach, you have to put a lot of shooters around Zubac, right? To really maximize that play. I don't think they're gonna really like do it like Shaq, but maybe some situational. So that makes another thing about Rocco to really play more over the likes of Marcus Morris. But I asked this in one of my Q&A in the past weeks. Someone told me that maybe because Marcus Morris is like the enforcer of the Clippers were in, so nobody touches or nobody bullies Kawhi. So they need Marcus Morris there. But yeah, whatever. I love that. I love that you mentioned Rocco. Remember one good memory for me about Rocco is remember I don't know if it's a couple of years ago, last year during the fantasy playoffs. I have him and I don't know he shot like what 9 3 pointers or something. I remember that day because my 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 team was I have several injuries that shoot snipes. And then when I check my app, I won that category just because of that game that Rocco, shot like out of his mind. So yeah, I just want to share that and love that pick. Okay, so we've talked a lot, we've shared a lot. I hope you loved our episode today. That's our two-part discussion about draft strategy. Because for me, it's really hard to just discuss it in one episode because there's a lot of considerations in drafting that I think sometimes we don't give much attention. So that's the reason why we handle it differently than other shows. We handle it like we're just telling stories. We're just sharing experience, and I love it. I totally love it. Any
Can,
parting words, Eric?
yeah, can I share a short story?
Sure.
Uh, 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 about 2 weeks ago, or 1 week ago, in the league, the World Cup, I've drafted fifth round. I took, I think it was fifth round. I took Simons, Anthony Simons. Okay, and in our app is ranked by Z score about 90. Okay, and I told you that I look at Z scores highly, and one of the people that follows me, okay, and uses my app, asked me on Twitter why you picked him when you in the app is a 93rd per game, something like that. There's a big difference. I had about six, seven, eight, I think about 8 reasons. I started writing to him why I did it, and I had a ton of reasons. Okay, it's not like I had only one or two or three reasons. I had that I know that I think is worth less, but I know that he won't stay until my next pick, and the players that I value more, I know that they will stay. Okay, so I don't need to pick uh, uh, to pick things as I see it. I need to consider how the others see it, and then I talked about the position, okay, and then I talked about the stats themselves. That it brings me stats that in my punt are harder to get, okay, and then I talked about and I had more and more reasons, and during me writing to him I said to myself, "Oh, damn! There's a lot of reasons." It was interesting to me how many things I consider during a draft.
Yeah. And the thing is, this is actually happening in real time. So that's the reason why it's very important to, learn about it ahead. Because the moment you're put into a position during the draft, Josh Late can help you. We can help you. All of the references that you downloaded, all of the podcasts that you downloaded and actually, listen to, they can't help you. They will help you in a way that there's stock knowledge that you've learned from them. But during that point, you're the one who will be put into a position to really decide on whatever direction or whoever player you'll be drafting. So yeah, thank you for sharing that amazing episode. So again, big shout outs to DMAC. We miss you, bro. I hope to
Yeah, we
uh
miss you.
yeah, we
Feel
hope
good.
to exactly and hope you
Get
get
healthy, man. We need
you
you here.
Apple Store to your Google store, draft sorry, download the day-to-day fantasy app so you could get more information about what Arik was actually explaining earlier. Anything else, Arik?
No, I have to say it was a really fun episode, and hopefully next week we will be the Three Stooges again, talking fantasy together.
There you go. Happy weekend, guys. Enjoy your drafts. We're always here with you. Day-to-day fantasy in the house, NBA fantasy Bible in the house, and of course, fantasy basketball PH. Happy weekend. Bye.